somebody's graduation or something, was it?
Yeah, something like that. They do everything later up there. My sister and my two nephews are up there, and they don't get out of school till like the middle of June.
Do they start later? Or?
Yeah, they start after Labor Day.
They probably have those 2-week breaks for Easter and.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I do know they start later and end later. I think it might be a weather thing too up there. Plus, I guess they don't have that farmers, you know. I think that's why we have summer break in the first place, is so all the kids can work in the field.
I know. Well, you know what? Because I said that one time. I said, it'd be better if they did school all year round. Because then it's like you go for like 9 weeks, have a couple weeks break, or but then somebody's like, well, the kids won't have it.
I mean, my grandpa, who was born in 1902 and was a farmer his whole life, he never finished school past 10 or 11 maybe, and so I think a lot of those guys didn't even come back to school because his dad needed him to work on the farm, and I think that they made the breaks like that, otherwise those kids wouldn't get any school.
Yeah.
Who is here? We can have a meeting.
Now, when you say this, we got a quorum now.
Hello.
I thought you did.
What? No, liquor prices, they usually like
Charlie got to go to it the other day.
Sounds good.
Last weekend.
Stuff's in a barrel.
Yeah, but the shippers, their gas costs,
Yeah, nobody's gotten too wild yet. There's everything kind of here and there. You'll get one company that'll raise it.
Except for pipeline.
Yeah.
A liquor pipeline.
Just a big spigot in your house. Which one do you want?
Oh, there she is. She's
running.
She's running across.
Are we going to break the news to her that she has to read that out loud tonight then? Or that
You got to run faster.
And then grab that book on your way past. You have to read that out loud tonight. We're going to be here for a bit.
I guess I'm going back to work.
Okay. So we will call to order the regular city council meeting for June 13th. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So today marks the 54th anniversary of that terrible F5 tornado that hit our town. It destroyed 111 homes, damaged another 190 as well as our elementary school. It killed 9 and injured 125 of our fellow citizens. Tonight we ask for a moment of silence to honor those affected by this event, especially those that lost their life. Thank you all for that. So,
Mayor, we have no changes to the agenda, if that's what you were looking at me for.
pretty good when you got, that look, right?
I know the look.
Motion to approve is written.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a public hearing tonight, and I would ask Shane, if you won't mind, if you'd come up and give us a little background about this. Oh, no,
Shane Daniels.
Shane Daniels.
Shane Daniels first, sorry.
Sorry, is your name Shane?
Shane, yes.
Sorry.
So, start out, I just have 4 slides, nothing too long here, but we got an appeal statement from Shane Olivier for property maintenance code violation that was cited by Clay Karen. This might have been a little bit backwards, but this is part of section 3.32 of city code. I've highlighted 2 of the things that were written in the violation notice. One, the exterior walls must be free of graffiti and advertising except as allowed in 3.10 subdivision 10 of the Tracy City Code. This is over the size for those requirements in 3.10, so it would not be considered advertising of any sort that's allowed in an R1. All exterior wood surfaces other than those decay-resistant materials shall be protected from the elements and decay by paint and other protective covering or treatment. If the exterior surface is unpainted or the paint is blistered or peeling over 20% or more of the total surface area. This is a current condition of the structure. And then here's a copy of the order. I don't know if you can all see that. I know it's hard to read on this too, but A, B, and C, these are the orders that were noted on the compliance. A is graffiti on overhead garage door, and B is fascia lacking paint or other weather resistant materials. And then part C, we put on all the compliance order that all repair work must be completed per applicable building code or any other codes if required. So the deadline is July 1st for compliance. This just shows the owner of the property as of record of Lyon County that they have on their site, and then the date that this was issued, and then this is the date the notice was sent out, and I believe they received it on the 14th, so it should be the day after. And then the address up here of the property with the violation. And that's all I have on that. Do you have any questions for me?
So, Shane, then July 4th deadline for compliance.
July 1st.
Or, excuse me, July 1st. Okay. And that's based on X number of days as cited in our code, or how's that?
It's kind of, there's really no set date as far as completion goes. They could appeal for more time if they'd like. Otherwise, it's kind of whatever we feel is a manageable time period to complete the project. So.
And in this case, you allocated about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's just some paint. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and maybe a board or two if they're rotted beyond being paintable, but.
Okay.
So, Mayor, but I know that Shane, is it Olivier?
Yeah.
Is here to appeal this. The code says that they have to appeal directly to the city administrator in a certain time period, which they did. And then I sent a letter to Shane and let him know that there was going to be this appeal tonight. And so that's essentially kind of the outline of the facts of the case, I guess you could say, from Shane. And so at this point, we'd be happy to, if you'd like to listen to the appeal, then I think that'd be the next step in the process.
Okay. Shane, would you like to come up now?
Sure. Is there any way you could bring up that second photo on your slide so they can read what the graffiti says? Is that possible? Can we do that?
We've got it.
So you know what it says?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please, I'm going to let her speak. She's a little more eloquent than I am, so.
Thank you, hon. Well, first of all, it's not graffiti. It's a sign
I
That
put
was-
it there.
that
That was
was-
painted by me.
purposefully put there because whoever was moving the snow in the alley was putting it right in front of the garage door. And it is common sense to not put snow in a driveway in front of a garage door.
I will say that I did contact Shane 3 times this last
A few
winter
times.
about the same issue. The 3rd time I just pushed it back in the street and sent him a photo and sent him over it. Here's your snow.
I don't, wasn't really sure how to get the message across other than to put it right there because it kept happening. Obviously, we were angry about it happening multiple times. Like, it's actually pretty wasteful of everyone's time and energy to move a bunch of snow that they shouldn't have had to move, or call the public works person on a Sunday or a weekend to come take care of it.
It costs a lot of money to bring that loader across town.
It's, in fact, pretty ridiculous. When we bought the property, we always intended to paint that shed. It obviously doesn't look the greatest, but frankly, there's quite a few properties that need some work on them. I don't really think that this is a huge priority. I just want the message to get across to whoever is not doing a very good job at snow removal. If that message could be gotten across, the message could be painted and go away. I just would like someone to explain to whoever is putting the snow there to stop it.
We're not appealing painting our shed. It's getting painted.
Oh, painted.
I informed Mr. Hanson of
Not
that.
a problem.
And I, in fact, informed him
Right.
that we weren't going to waste everybody's time here today, and
Right.
he
This is-
could take the appeal and throw it in the trash.
Huge
But
waste of time right now.
Clearly, he doesn't listen to his constituents, so here we are. I feel like this was filed out of spite, and we're here now, basically out of spite. I mean, we wanted to talk about the snow removal issue before, obviously, but after my conversation with Mr. Hanson and him telling me that the message or graffiti on my garage door had no correlation with this, I mean, it has everything to do with this. I get my fascia doesn't look great. I mean,
No, of course it doesn't.
there's a
We're-
shed right across the street from me. The whole front of it is particle board raw. That guy got a compliance order. I think the content of our message is why this happened. And to be honest, we're a little frustrated, obviously.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to go out of my way to paint my shed door with spray paint in the middle of winter to leave a message for somebody who, in my opinion, doesn't have a lot of common sense.
The root of the problem is the snow in front of the door. Just whoever needs to stop it. Just stop it.
Yes.
It's pretty simple. And the message will go away and it will get painted.
Yes, it'll be painted before the 1st. It'll at least have primer on it, so, you know, it won't be raw wood or whatever, but, yeah. I mean, there's nothing else we really have to say. We're just tired of moving messes that shouldn't be there. I mean, the next lot, literally a foot past my shed, is an empty EDA lot. There's nothing on it. It's bare. Same with the house on the other side of the alley. This stuff could be pushed and blown into empty lots. Why does it end up in front of our garage door?
Right.
That doesn't make sense to us. So, that being said, I don't know what you guys want to do with that. I mean, that's the only reason we're here.
So Shane, did you have to go back out, did you guys go back out and move that snow?
After they pushed it all on the road.
Can you
The
gotta-
first time
gotta
you
come
brought
up-
the
gotta-
letter
you-
back.
wait, you, one at a time. We gotta have people coming up to the microphone.
So after they had pushed it all out to the road on Sunday and created a hazard of traffic, yes, we did move all the snow off the road again. And, you know, that's something they're failing to mention to the council too, so there's a little more to their story.
So
I said that, I pushed it
why,
out the street.
so why did they put the snow in front of their garage door?
I can't,
I have a photo.
I can't confirm that my guys did it, to be honest with you. Because I talked to the operator that, so no. I talked to my operator in this instance. I don't know what happened before, because this happened the winter before. This instance, I talked to the operator, and he didn't do it. There's also a tractor just like ours that does clean around the church, the Methodist church, and they go down that alley. If they push something out there, how do you prove it? So we're not going to take fault for something that no one can prove either.
But you guys know not to push snow there next winter, right?
I've talked to all of my guys, and the guy that usually does the alleys is not with us anymore, so we will have to train whoever that person may be. So, and we tell them not to put snow in front of any doors, driveways and alleys. Honestly, I'd prefer to go down all the alleys with a V-plow right now, because it always seems to be a problem on where snow goes in alleys. So I get more alley complaints than I do streets. So,
Mayor, if I might.
but we can figure that out later. But
A couple things I would point out. One is that the question before you is whether or not this is a code violation, not whether or not somebody pushing snow in front of somebody's house. The second thing I would point out is that ultimately, if what happens by July 1st is what's indicated by these folks, that they paint the shed, that's ultimately all the compliance order is about anyway. And so, I mean, if that's the case, then the whole thing kind of, goes away at that point, because there is no violation at that point.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
And so it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
And so the third thing that I want to say is that my conversation with Mr. Olivier was after he filed an appeal, in which case I am required by the code to bring that appeal to City Council, because you are the only ones that can actually hear this appeal. So at that point, when that appeal request was made, there really wasn't any choice in terms of what the procedure was. I explained that to Mr. Olivier on the phone and said, after he said, I would like to see if we can just take care of this quietly, I said, no, we don't have any choice. I have to bring it to City Council because that's what the law requires. At which point he called me in name and hung up on me. And so
somebody cannot withdraw.
He didn't ask to withdraw it. He didn't ask to withdraw it.
I told him to stick it where the sun don't shine. I mean, that's essentially.
Yeah, but it's just. I don't want this turning into a bigger thing, to be honest with you, Shane, because I can understand how you feel.
Down here with the snow removal issue.
From my perspective, my suggestion to you would be to, move to suspend this hearing until July 1st to see if the problem is resolved. And if it's resolved, then we don't need to bring it back to you ultimately. But
stay enforcement of the order.
Yeah.
Pending July 1st and the completion of the work to be completed.
Yep.
And
In which case it's irrelevant. It's over. Yeah.
So, as long as you repaint over the writing and fix the garage, then we don't need to do any action.
that is correct. The order will be compliant.
Then the thing other that I want to be taken under consideration is we do need to make sure we are looking at fairness, that if we're writing up one building violation, we need to be fair across the board through the city. Because I would feel the same way if it was for that reason or not. I can see where the perception would be that way.
I can name many properties that look.
No, I can see where the
bad, if not
perception would be
worse.
that way. So we just need to be fair when we start writing up these, I think of the words, not deficiencies, but nuisance, that we are fair throughout the whole community. So nobody feels like they're being pointed out. So I think we need to take that as a learning point, but otherwise there's really no other action that we need to do right now, other than thank you for bringing this forward. And
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Warren is not with us, right?
Okay, Mayor and City Council, if I may, on this particular item. We have now been asked twice by this gentleman to put this on the agenda. Both times he has not come. We're not going to put it on the agenda anymore, just so you know. If he wants to come and speak, he can certainly do that as a member of the public, but we're not going to put it on the agenda anymore.
I thought this was on
Yep.
the last one, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? Okay. David, you got that look?
Make a motion to approve the May 23rd and June 6th council minutes. Approve municipal accounts payable without breakthrough beverage. Set a public hearing for June 27th, 2022 for new construction or residential city tax abatements, 6:45. And then the first reading for the ordinance establishing a park board.
Council member, I need to talk about the procedures on the public hearings. We had a conversation because we actually have 6 public hearings scheduled for the next meeting. So we started thinking, how the heck are we gonna, do these 15-minute increments like that? Some of these are coming from the Planning Commission, so you're not seeing those here. And we had a conversation with the League of Minnesota Cities and about noticing them, and asked the question, could we just notice them all at 6:30 and start doing them in succession, at which time, so we don't have to do this, oh, well, is there anybody that has something that we want to deal with? So, and they said, yes, we believe you can do that, and that complies with the law, and as long as the city attorney is okay with that. I see him shaking his head yes. We're going to start noticing all public hearings at 6:30. So if you wouldn't mind amending that motion for the public hearing at 6:30.
I will amend that to starting at 6:30.
Thank you. My apologies. I should have explained that before.
Not an issue.
I'll second it.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Tao,
Aye.
Van Dyke. Oh, it's gone. Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Corm.
Aye. Does anybody have anything
Oh,
for?
wait.
Oh.
You have to make a
Gotta-
motion.
Oh, I forgot you.
There you go.
Sorry.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable for breakthrough beverage.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Tao.
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Teagues,
Abstain.
Mayor Corman.
Aye. Alrighty, now does anybody have anything for mayor, council communication?
I've got a couple things, Mayor. One is I've had several comments and questions from people, citizens, just expressing concern about the number of violations of our nuisance and maintenance codes, buildings that aren't painted, weeds growing up. And I just I want to commend people for the ones that do take care of their properties, and just urge other people to just take care of problems. I think this is, if we took a poll of all council members, this would probably be the #1 complaint that we have from citizens year round. And I understand that there's been 15, 16 violations that have gone out on the maintenance code, and quite a number on weed violations also. So I do support that. It's not an easy problem to solve in our community, but it's something that we have to keep working on. And the second thing is I got a letter from, and I'm sure all other council members did also, a notice of the Southwest Regional Development Commission's annual meeting coming up on July 14th. I'm gonna try and make that, and I hope a few other members of our council try and make it as well. I think it's important for us as city leaders to be aware of what some of the other communities in our region are doing and some of the resources that are available to our city. So I thought that was a good idea. SRDC's been having this annual meeting for quite a number of years.
Do you or Jeff attend that, Eric?
I have not attended that, but I think the mayor.
I do, yeah, I was just gonna tell you, Seth, that I am going to that, because
Right.
I'm on the committee, so if you wanna ride with me,
Great.
you'd let me know if you want to, or anybody else want to.
Jeff may have
I'll
in the
get behind
past, I
my own
haven't.
van.
I think as long as we have a couple representatives
Yeah.
there.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Should we mention how well the turnout was for Burgers, Bands, and Brews?
I was going to mention that if you want to go to city administrator's
All
report.
right, then I will see, okay.
People do want to know about Burgers, Bands, and Brews and how that turned out. We sold about 283 or 4 tickets to the event. It's kind of hard to tell because people were coming and going. I talked to a number of people while we were there. I think a lot of people were happy with that, and there's some things that we can kind of take away, to make it a little better even next year. I want to thank the council, for coming and supporting this event as well. I think we sold something like 430 brews, and then Jeff, I think, had sponsorships close to $7,000 on it. And so I know we made money. I just don't have the final tally yet because we don't have all the bills in. And ultimately, that will be a donation to the Tracy Area Community Foundation. And I'm sure that I'll be able to get it by the next city council meeting. And so maybe we'll even try to schedule some kind of check presentation or something like that at that point when we know exactly what that looks like. But ultimately, we think it was a pretty successful event overall. I would say, in addition to that, and probably most importantly, there was a lot of staff time, put into this, not just from the staff, but from the foundation board as well. I and Jeff and Peggy and Krista were, as well as Jeremy, our new facilities guy, we were out there starting to set up 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was there and there till close to midnight as well. And I know Shane and his guys were setting up the day before and cut the grass and put the fence up and we put some additional maintenance into the band shell as well and repaired a lot of the roof and things like that on it too. And so we tried to put a good face on things. So we thought it turned out pretty well. We have another event coming up for Aloha Night, which will be our second annual one of those on the 22nd of July. And so everybody worked really hard. Tam, I don't know why I forgot Tam, for God's sakes. Looking at you is like looking at Tam, so it shouldn't be hard for me to forget that.
I am
But,
younger, remember?
You are younger, yes, that's true. Although she says she's nicer, I don't know. See, she rolled her eyes. But she probably put in more work than anybody else, actually, in terms of the logistics of getting everything together. I mean, it was just a tremendous event. So thank you for everyone here in the community for coming out for that, and we'll be able to do a kind of a better accounting of that, I think, in a couple weeks. So I did want to mention that. A couple other things that I wanted to mention, I had mentioned I was going to follow up on some of the discussions about weeds and everything else. I think we've put out, according to Shane as of today, about 22 different notices citywide on weed violations. And then I think, as you indicated, council member, another 16 or so on property maintenance code. It's a significant issue throughout the city. There's no doubt about that. And I appreciated your appeal for people to take care of their properties. Is important. It was particularly bad this spring, I think, because of the extra rain that we had. And then on top of that, our pool failed us too. And so the same people that are out doing weed notices are the same people that are working on fixing the pool. And so it becomes a little bit of a resource issue at the same time, but ultimately we have been after it. And we know that's a council priority, and we'll continue to work on it. The last thing I wanted to mention and kind of get a little bit of feedback, there was a brief comment at the budget meeting last week talking about local government aid. Local government aid has not really grown very much in recent years, and right now, as I understand it, it got caught up in the state legislature because they didn't pass their budget bill, and there might be a special session if the governor calls it, but that local government aid is caught up there, so we still don't know exactly what that's going to look like this year, or actually it would be for 2023. One of the things that I mentioned is there's a couple of coalitions, one of them called the Coalition of Minnesota Small Cities, and that's for cities that are under 5,000. I think there's about 100 members of that, and then there's a coalition of greater Minnesota cities. I wanted to get a sense for the city council if you felt like, are those kinds of organizations we haven't historically been a member of or been too terribly involved, but certainly it's in our interest to address things like local government aid and funding for communities outside of the metro area. Minnesota is so dominated by the Twin Cities area that sometimes we have 10 cities to forgotten, which is kind of why these coalitions exist in the first place. It costs us a little bit in dues. I think it's like about $1,000 a piece or something like that. Is this something? I will say that if we're going to be a part of these organizations, it's one of those things where you want to participate. Either staff or as a council. You could certainly do that individually as council members too. Do you have some thoughts? I mean, partially the reason why I brought it up was because of last week, but I also got a notice from the Minnesota Small Cities Coalition today about a membership, and so it was kind of timely, I guess. But I don't know what your thoughts are, if you think it's worth it, if you think that that's something that makes sense, would you participate if you were members of these organizations? I'm open to your thoughts and suggestions.
I'm going to ask you what you consider participate. Is it writing letters of support for different legislature, or is it going up to the Capitol?
It might involve going to the Capitol. I know that Tam and the mayor went to the Capitol to lobby for some issues related to, it had to do with the grocery store selling liquor, as I recall, because that would be damaging to our liquor store. And so I know that Tam lobbied for that. So it might entail that. I know that in the case of, say, Minnesota Small Cities, the city clerk in Cottonwood is a member of the board, for example. So it might involve, a leadership role. We can always write letters. We've done that in the past. Usually with these coalitions, you kind of have a greater voice in larger numbers, So I think there's a number of ways that you could participate. It's like a lot of other things, you get as much out of it as you put into it to a certain extent. But if these are issues you feel strongly about, then it would make sense to be part of these coalitions and then work within them, to try to address these issues.
So, I didn't know, I couldn't find it in like the letter that went out.
Yeah.
Does it say some of the things that they've actually done as far as
actually done? That's a good question. They always, these organizations are often run by lobbyists, and so they talk about the things that they promote. I think what this particular coalition would say is that they, were successful in getting an increase in the local government aid of $30 million this year as it passed through the House, but it didn't pass through the Senate. And, this is the problem in Minnesota is you've got a Democrat House and you've got a Republican Senate, and obviously today Republicans and Democrats aren't exactly overjoyed to work together across the country. And so I think to a certain extent that's kind of what hung that up. So that's what they would probably say. I don't want to speak for them because I don't know them that well, but I do appreciate, trying to get some more money putting into that program because, as we pointed out last week in our budget session, our expenses are going up a lot quicker than local government aid is, that's for sure.
I think it's important that there is a voice out there that's specifically for small cities of under $5,000, because otherwise, we don't have a very loud voice.
No, we don't, not individually.
Yeah, I agree with Jerry strongly. The League of Minnesota Cities is a wonderful organization, but small communities like Tracy, we have some unique challenges. We've got small tax bases and some enormous costs and expenses coming up with aging infrastructure and so forth. That I think would be very beneficial to have a voice that is just speaking from the small city's perspective and just to address issues like some things that are mandated by the state, such as we heard recently about a recommendation someday we're going to have to relocate our airport runway.
Yep.
Or that it's too close to the county highway. Just issues like this that just are not cost effective or practical for a small community like Tracy could be spending millions of dollars on relocating an airport. So I would like to see the administrator just gather some more information about this organization and so we can consider it in our budget.
I can do that. Yeah, we can do that. In fact, one of the things Krista and I were talking about earlier today is that we're going to get kind of a full list of all the organizations that we're members of. And maybe as part of the budget process, we come back to you and say, this is what we're members of. Do you think that it makes sense to be a member of this organization, or should we be a member of that organization? Because if we're a member just to be a member and we don't participate, maybe we shouldn't. But on the other hand, maybe we should be participating more in some of these things. So we'd be happy to do that as part of the budget, so you can consider that as a line item if you'd like. Okay. I appreciate that feedback. We'll work on that. That's all I have, Mayor. The rest of my report is in your packet, unless anybody has any specific questions about anything that's going on.
No, but I do think that we should also mention what a great success the movie in the park was at.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right. The whole movie in the park too.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind. I felt like I worked the entire weekend, but
We had a great turnout.
it was a really great turnout. And I'm going to credit Pear for this again, because the paper really kind of branded it that way last year. But this whole idea of the first weekend in June kind of being the kickoff to summer, so we did the movie in the park, and then the pool opened on Saturday. I won't say that it closed then shortly thereafter, but it did open on that one day. It opened, and of course we had Burgers, Bands, and Brews then on Saturday night, and I love the idea of having these celebrations, and we had about close to 150 people easily, and I counted. It's hard to count those crowds, but we try to count them if we can. We had bouncy houses there, and the movie in the park, and popcorn, and it was a great event on Friday night too, absolutely. And I saw some people that were at both, actually. And I appreciate when the community comes out to support those things. And thank you for reminding me of that.
Hey, Eric, you forgot about Diane when you were thanking people.
Oh my God, I forgot about Diane.
Turn to your left.
Diane is really the city's party planner, if you want to know the truth. It should be like actually the second thing under. She was not there last weekend, which is probably why it slipped my mind, because her daughter had her bachelor party that weekend, which sounds pretty fun to me. But in reality, Diane planned a good portion of the event ahead of time in terms of the logistics, so that all I needed to do was pick up a pile of stuff that was sitting over there in the corner on the way out. Thank you, Krista, for reminding me. I appreciate it. I'm sure there's other people I'm forgetting too. But it was a lot of work.
We We had a great weekend, and we'll do some more of those for the city of Tracy.
Absolutely.
As long as you keep coming out and supporting it,
Absolutely.
happy to do them for you.
Absolutely. So unless there's anything else, I know we were going to give just a quick update on the street project. Tim is here and Shane can kind of give, update as far as where everything is at. And I don't know who is going to come up and do that. Both of you, maybe. You're both men of many words, so I expect it to be short.
Guess Kyle kind of made me an update here. This year there was basically 6 blocks left for utility work. Of those 6, they've got 3 done with storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water main, and then services associated with that. As of today, they have water main done and sewer main done on Roland Street from 4th to 6th, and sewer main done on 5th Street from Harvey down to Morgan now. So keep plugging away there. All the driveways and sidewalks from last year that were left gravelled as part of milestone 1 not being completed are now done as of May 24th. So from October 2nd of last year to May 24th, I'm not sure how many days that was, but those damages were approximately $18,500. They've been doing some grading on those first 3 blocks that they got done with utilities this year. Edge drain is in on all of Harvey Street, and then that block of 5th from Roland to Harvey. Otherwise, they're just moving on, keep going. So that's all I really have for.
I think Eric sent something out on the settlement issues. I know that was a topic of discussion last week during the budget meeting, I guess. Kind of gave you a rundown on what the plan is there, but they're kind of just waiting to clean things up a little bit now so they can see everything, and then I think the next time it rained, you're going to mark out.
Yep, they a couple weeks ago they spent a few days cutting out all the curbs and sidewalks and/or driveways that were issues for settlement. The asphalt's still there in place. Like Shane said, we're kind of just waiting for a walkthrough once they get everything cleaned up, and then we're going to wait till the day after it rains because the puddles in the street make it a lot more visible and easier to identify a lot of the areas. So we'll do that sometime here in the next couple weeks. So.
No, it's not gonna rain, now.
Yeah.
Just gonna get hot.
Jinx myself.
Yep, hot and humid. But reassurance, they're not gonna be putting on another layer
Correct.
until this is fixed.
So.
Okay.
They haven't determined the exact fix on it. The way it sounds, they're leaning towards digging them all out and checking compaction again, and then repaving those areas before they do the final lift. But even Kyle last week when we met with them reiterated that it's going to get corrected before they put that final lift on. And if it looks like something looks a little funny, they're going to hold off on the lift until they're assured that it's not going to settle. So, and say Kyle, the question was asked, is it going to settle in 2 years? Kyle doesn't really see that happening based on what he has for information on the compaction, so that's kind of where that's at. So I'm holding to it. So.
I was just gonna say,
I told him we didn't want a Morgan Street again, or
I don't want Morgan or
parts of
North
2nd
Street.
Yeah.
Or even 7th Street was bad before they did this. Now it's even worse than it was when it was bad.
It's just the other way now. It was this way, now it's this way. So.
So when they're doing these lifts and they're doing the compaction, do you guys not check the compaction?
No, we've had AAT out. They do tests on certain. It's every so often the specs says however long a trench, every 250 feet of trench, you have to do a test for every 4 feet of fill. So we've been doing tests, and we've kind of stepped up that frequency this year. So, and they've all been passing.
They passed before this to look like it they do?
Most of them have passed.
So are we changing a process, or are we going to end up with the same stuff?
We've stepped up the number of tests. I know RNG had some internal meetings with their employees about compaction. We've been harping on more about smaller lifts this year, and they're backfilling, so.
I guess I wouldn't wanna just use the same process.
No, we're not, no, it's-
Thank you, okay.
I've gotten in quite a few, they don't like me harping on them all the time, but it's,
Well, then they should do their
yeah,
job right.
yeah, that's kind of what I say to them.
How has the wet weather affected construction?
It hasn't been too bad this year. I mean, those big rains slowed them down for a day, but usually they have everything sealed up. Before they leave for the night, they always roll it. Or if they have rain coming in, they smooth roll it, to kind of seal it off, and they grade it to one side to get all the water to go down to the, current intake. But
So minimal impact.
yeah, I think after a rain, if it's too much, they don't work. But if it just rains a couple tenths the night before, they just scrape off the slop on top and then put that in a separate pile, and they can continue.
So are they pretty much done having dirt in the middle of the roads? If not, they need to do a little bit more safety checks with cones.
Yep.
When you're driving at night, granted, it's not like you're driving 50, but I'm sorry, even driving 20, and all of a sudden you come up in the dark on a pile of dirt. It's not good.
Exchanged an email with, I think, you guys and
Yep.
Eric and Scott last week, because during our construction meeting, or the monthly RD meeting, I had a comment on that, and they said, oh yeah, we have cones on everything that's out there now. Well then, Tuesday morning, I think, I was driving through the project, and I saw that pile of dirt that I know Monday morning didn't have cones by it, still didn't have cones by it, and I sent him a picture of it, and told him he needed to address it, and I think he went out that night to put cones by it, so. But
They should be done with the black dirt. They might be a little bit more just when the sod guys get here if they want some more dirt on there, but they should be done with the blocks of it.
Is there a target date for sodding?
They were gonna come last week, but I think it rained Monday or Tuesday. That pushed them off, and then again last night. So they're waiting for it to dry up because they don't want to make a bigger mess than they have to. So as of last week, I haven't heard that since they pulled off. They were going to come Tuesday last week, but it rained, so I don't have an update on that. But
Would there be any advantage to, since we're now heading into the hottest part of the summer, to just wait a couple months now to do the sod, or?
I can ask, I guess. It's kind of when they're available. I know there's certain dates, but they have to water it if it's between certain,
I mean, I know homeowners are anxious to get their sod in place and things looking better, and that's understandable, but of more importance is that it's gonna take and not die out in the middle of the summer.
Yep.
Even with the watering.
We can have that discussion with the staffing guys once. We can talk to them about that.
I do like the fact that they're siding and they're not seeding them. I think that makes a little difference.
Well, it does, but the sod can still
I was
die.
just gonna say.
I know, but I'm
Right,
just
Seth.
saying.
Yes.
It's like,
We're aware.
That-
Right there with you, Seth.
okay, anybody else have any questions for them?
Nope.
Thanks, guys.
I just want to throw one tidbit into, you may have seen it on Facebook, we are going to spray for mosquitoes Thursday. So if anyone asks about bugs, that's our plan, unless the weather changes, but thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. You ready to move on to new business? There's only 2 resolutions on there. The first one is approving a farm lease with Greg Lanou, and the Lanous are here. Sat through the last 45 minutes. We appreciate their patience. We've been leasing to them for many years, and John and Greg and I had a conversation a few weeks ago about renewing the lease. They've increased their rates, and as you can see in your packet, they're very much market rates, or even a little higher than they are in some cases in Lyon County as a whole. Minnesota Extension Service, publishes all that information, and so appreciate the willingness to do that. couple of other little tiny items, and I think Greg has reviewed the agreement, the final agreement, which I sent to him at the end of last week. With that, we certainly recommend approving this agreement, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions or if you have any for them as well.
They get up to that, Mike, we'll be here a half hour.
Thanks.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2022-59, approving a farm lease with Greg Lanou.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, do we have any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Powell,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
The next item, Mayor, is just approving of the pay app. And I don't know if Shane has any comments on the pay app specifically. It's fairly routine. Everything's been approved at this point.
Motion to approve resolution 2022-60 to pay number 9 to RNG Construction.
I'll second that.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Teagues,
Aye.
Powell,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.